As I drove home in utter silence from my screening of Captain America: Brave New World last night, an interesting question rose to the forefront of my mind, which was something I had been pondering secretly for years, but I'd never really considered in depth until that moment when it hit me like a freight train. And that question was, what actually happened to Marvel? When I was growing up, even before I was really into film as a medium and art form, Marvel movies were at the forefront of everyone's minds. I mean, everywhere you went, you couldn't escape the conversation surrounding them. As a kid, my friends and I were at the Thursday night preview showing of each of these new films with ease, sitting with a sold-out crowd of eager audience goers to catch the next installment in the series. These movies felt like event-type films that drew people together and reminded audiences about the power of the theatrical experience. I mean, I remember when people would remain seated for the entirety of the credits in order to see the post-credit scene after the film, which is incredibly rare for any other film released in theaters recently. These movies weren't just fun and enjoyable, but they contained a real heart and youth to them that was unrivaled by anything else released at the time. These charming and relatable characters had so much fun and depth with them, with their flaws and strengths both serving to highlight such a complex side to their actions and self. The action was grandiose and complemented with gorgeous special effects, and the humor worked alongside the action to deliver a crowd-pleasing and rousing experience overall. All in all, these films were such a blast to watch back in the day, which is why the recent downfall of Marvel has been quite disheartening, especially for people like me who remember the period of growth and opportunity that Marvel reached back in the day. Now, it's easy to blame the COVID-19 pandemic as the downfall of such a series, as the noticeable dip in quality became apparent soon after restrictions were lifted. But it goes beyond and deeper than that. The real problem with Marvel, which became apparent to me as I watched Captain America: Brave New World last night, is that they simply just stopped caring. Plain and simple. Whereas before, clear effort was placed inside these films, now audiences are treated to a cacophony experience full of lackluster visual effects and weak writing, both in terms of plot progression and humor specifically. I mean, you used to be able to tell that people who loved movies worked on these films, whereas now, everything released under the studio label feels soulless and lacking in depth. And it's noticeable for everyone, even audiences everywhere. Before, no one would have moved a muscle as the credits rolled, but at my screening last night, 3/4 of the audience got up and left before the post-credit scene, which shifted things dramatically into focus for me for the first time ever. It seemed for a time that Brave New World would promise a fresh new perspective for this series, but it seems that it cannot escape the same corporate oversight that has killed its predecessors. Captain America: Brave New World follows Sam Wilson, codenamed Falcon, who has become the new Captain America and finds himself in the middle of an international global plot involving the newly elected president Thaddeus Ross and a mysterious villain who is intent on letting the world go mad. If this plot sounds like a political thriller, that's because this movie is clearly trying to be a political thriller when it is not. The real problem here is that the film has neither the guts nor the material needed to fully commit to a vision like this. And it's incredibly disheartening to see that they are clearly trying here. I mean, the opening skips the traditional Marvel Studios logo for something more serious and straightforward and grounded in tone. And the fact that the filmmakers put fake film grain into shots of this film means this movie almost feels like a wolf in sheep's clothing at times, and that it's obviously trying to be something that it's not. And this hurts the entire film overall. This serious and grounded tone is just straight up ignored by over-the-top action sequences and a laughably bad script that feels unfinished and uneven. Anthony Mackie is without a doubt the best part of this film, as always. His performance as Sam Wilson in the other movies was consistently charming and charismatic, and here he continues to bring that energy in a leading role. The movie attempts to set up such an intriguing idea with his character, as Sam struggles and grapples with the fact that he never took the super soldier serum, and wonders whether he truly is a worthy hero in that sense, which opens up such a complex and layered discussion about the merits of heroism and what truly makes someone heroic. Great setup, but unfortunately the film never explores or contextualizes this intriguing setup, which is incredibly disappointing. However, Mackie is without fault here. He definitely doesn't do anything overtly bad. The same cannot be said for Harrison Ford, who plays the presidential leader Thaddeus Ross in one of the most phoned-in performances of all time. He just obviously doesn't care about anything here, and it weakens what little characterization he has throughout. I mean, he's Harrison Ford. He does fine enough with what he's given, but he's not given a lot. Many people find it endearing how Harrison Ford is on record stating he doesn't care how stupid he looks in roles as long as he receives a big paycheck, but I personally grow tired of this sentiment after watching his performances where this is the case and seeing no clear effort put into what he does here, as it's honestly just depressing and disheartening. His character is also given a familial drama angle that feels shoehorned in and never feels entirely necessary to the overall plot. Now, Giancarlo Esposito does fine work with what he's given, which is a smaller antagonistic role that manages to pack a punch even with what limited screen time he has. Perhaps the biggest problem with the film, however, is that it sets up a major antagonistic figure in Ross and then proceeds to underutilize this character completely in favor of a different villain. You heard me right, the main villain of this film is not Thaddeus Ross, which is insane to me. Rather, it's a different villain from an older Marvel property, which I will not reveal due to spoilers. I love the actor attached to this role, but the characterization is pulled off in possibly the dumbest way possible. Nothing this character does here is noteworthy or intriguing. I don't understand why the filmmakers thought Ross was an intriguing enough antagonist on his own, as the inclusion of this other villain really kills the momentum and dramatic pacing this has going for it. In this way, the movie reveals too many of its tricks way too fast. It's a movie that feels almost dumbed down and simplified to audience's standards. The use of green screen effects has never been more apparent. It warps the cinematography and setting in such a grotesque and visceral way. And yes, the Marvel type humor is particularly cringeworthy and uninspired here. It just feels so blatantly over the top and uninspired overall, it's just hard not to hate it. That said, it's interesting how this is definitely one of Marvel's most cohesive and overall tied together films in a while. Compared to other recent films of theirs, the plot is consistent, and a few scenes in this are actually brilliant in setup, even if the execution is lackluster. Overall, Captain America Brave New World is exactly the type of movie you would expect from this post-pandemic Marvel state, which is not a good one. It's never been clearer that the thing killing Marvel is in fact Kevin Feige. Feige struck gold within the Thanos saga by keeping an ambitious spirit and keeping his ambitions high, and it's clear that Feige has zero clue how to steer the ship anymore. Whereas before, every movie in the series felt necessary and needed in telling the overall story, now it's a struggle to even see how these overarching story beats matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, what is this movie building up to specifically? With this film, Marvel might be starting a downfall unlike anything we've seen before in movie history before, which is quite unfortunate. There's still time for them to come back, don't get me wrong. They still have Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four releasing this year, which are major tentpoles. The nails have been pounded into the coffin, but there's still time to hear the banging on the lid from the still alive person inside. However, as the dirt is slowly shoveled on with time, it's going to be more difficult to hear that banging. And if Fantastic Four serves as a last rites ceremony, we might be witnessing the death of a modern day tentpole franchise. That's why I'm giving Captain America Brave New World a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.